He posted, looking for a roommate. No drama. And I am drama. Werewolf. Omega. Frustrated, and prone to falling in love after one good joke. I stood in front of the apartment door, with my duffel bag slung over my shoulder, and a pack of suppressants rattling in my jacket pocket. My heart was doing that annoying flutter thing, like it hadn't read the memo. No feelings, no connections, no pack. Just survive. The door opened before I could knock again. He filled the doorway like a warning sign. Broad shoulders, faded jeans, black hoodie, frown already in place like it was born there. "Rooms still available?" I asked, smiling the way you do when you're seconds from throwing up. He looked me over, eyes pausing briefly on the bag. "Toby, right?" "Yeah. Come in." He turned without another word, leaving the door open like I was a delivery he didn't want to sign for. Inside, the apartment smelled normal. Not like Alpha. Not like Pack. Not like home. Just neutral. Furniture from IKEA, sink full of dishes, a cat clock on the wall whose tail swayed aggressively back and forth like it disapproved of me already. He limped slightly as he walked. Left leg stiff. Not obvious, but enough for me to clock it. "You hurt?" I asked without thinking. He looked back over his shoulder. "Old injury. Doesn't concern you." Check. Personal questions. Off limits. I followed him into the kitchen. He motioned to the counter. A rental agreement sat there, along with a pen and a chipped mug that said "Don't talk to me until coffee." "You read it?" he asked. "All 20 pages of thrilling legalese," I said, flipping to the back and signing with a flourish. "I especially like the clause where I forfeit my soul if I leave dishes in the sink." He didn't laugh. Not even a twitch. "Rules are simple," he said. "I'm not your alpha. You're not my problem. No pack drama, no heats, no sense, no fighting, no crying. You break one rule, you're out." I nodded slowly. "You forgot. No singing in the shower." Still, nothing. "Your room's down the hall. Second door on the right. Bathroom's across from it. Don't touch my stuff. Crystal clear, boss man." He turned and walked away, muttering something I didn't catch. I lingered in the kitchen, staring at the pen I'd used. My hand shook a little. Signing that paper meant I was here. For real. No turning back. My room was small, barely enough space for the twin bed and desk shoved into opposite corners. But it was clean. Private. Safe. Safe-ish. I set my bag down and sat on the bed. Breathed out. This was going to work. It had to. New city. New name. No pack. No scent. No mistakes. Just silence. Later that evening, I ventured out to the kitchen again. Jake, because yes, I remembered his name from the listing, was standing over the stove, poking aggressively at a pot of instant noodles. "Dinner of champions," I said, opening the fridge. It was mostly empty. A sad bottle of mustard, 3 cans of soda, and something in Tupperware that might have once been chicken but now had the texture of regret. "I made enough for 2, he said gruffly. My stomach betrayed me with a loud growl. "Guess that means yes," I mumbled, pulling out a chair at the table. He brought over 2 bowls. Sat across from me. We ate in silence for the first 2 minutes. "So," I said, because silence makes me itch, "you always make gourmet meals for your roommates?" "Only the special ones." A pause. Was that a joke? I looked up. Still no smile. But something in his jaw relaxed. "You don't smell like anything," he added suddenly. "That normal for you?" My chopsticks froze. My heart leapt. "Some of us just like our privacy," I said casually, forcing another bite into my mouth. "Keeps the weirdos away." He nodded. No follow-up, no probing, just good. That confirmed it. He couldn't smell me, and he wasn't going to try. Relief hit me so hard it almost made me dizzy. My scent, suppressed, masked, muted, had gone unnoticed. That, or his nose was broken. Either way, I could breathe again. "I like it here," I blurted. Jake raised an eyebrow. "You've been here 3 hours. "Yeah, but in roommate time that's like a month." Still nothing. You ever laugh? I asked, finally. Or was that part of the injury too? Silence. Then, slowly, just barely, a snort. The faintest twitch of a smile at the edge of his mouth. Victory. Tiny, silent, but mine. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something I hadn't expected to feel in this new life. Not fear. Not dread. Something dangerously close to hope. The pill bottle rattled accusingly in my drawer. 4 left. I held one between my fingers, staring at its smooth pale blue surface like it might whisper answers if I glared hard enough. My body already knew the countdown. The subtle heat crawling under my skin, the quickened breath when I caught my own scent clinging to a shirt. Suppressants dulled the edge. They didn't kill the fire, just muffled it under wet blankets and denial. But I'd promised myself, no more hiding. No more twisting into knots to make others comfortable. No more pills. I tossed it back into the bottle, slammed the drawer shut, and flopped onto my bed with a groan. That night, I couldn't sleep. The sheets were too warm. My skin prickled with every movement. The fan overhead did nothing but swirl heat in circles. I kicked the blanket off for the 3rd time, then got up and wandered to the kitchen in boxers and an old hoodie. It was close to midnight, and the apartment was quiet except for a low hum. Not from the fridge, but from the living room. Jake's voice. I froze just before turning the corner, then leaned slightly into the hall. He was on the couch, feet propped up on the coffee table, phone tucked between his ear and shoulder. His tone was softer than usual. Not the gruff monosyllables I'd gotten used to, but actual laughter. Warm, unforced, human. I know, he said, chuckling. But the guy basically set the kitchen on fire trying to boil eggs. What was I supposed to do? Watch it burn? Pause. Then laughter again. It hit something in me I didn't know was still raw. He sounded happy. I backed away before I could hear more, feet light against the floor, suddenly feeling like an intruder in my own safe space. Not because he was doing anything wrong, but because I wanted that sound, that version of him, for myself. Which was dangerous. Very, very dangerous. The next morning, I made it as far as the shower before everything went sideways. The heat was getting worse, not just in the apartment, but in me. My skin was flushed, hypersensitive. My balance felt off. Every drop of water stung like needles, and soothed like a lover's hands all at once. I leaned my forehead against the tile, trying to calm my breathing. I'd skipped another pill this morning. Just write it out. You're not even in real heat. You can... The world tilted. Suddenly, the floor was too far away. My knees buckled. And then, the door slammed open. Toby? Jake's voice, sharp and panicked. I heard it, but I couldn't answer. Everything blurred. Steam, light, skin. I was on the floor, curled half in and half out of the tub. The curtain clung to my shoulder like plastic guilt. Jake was crouched beside me in seconds. His hand on my back burned through the wet fabric. You okay? Hey. Breathe. I tried. It sounded like a gasp and a choke and maybe a sob all at once. I'm fine, I managed. Just dizzy. You don't look fine. He grabbed a towel and draped it over my shoulders, pressing a hand to my forehead. His other hand cupped the back of my neck, steadying me. You're burning up, he muttered. It wasn't heat from a fever. It was heat from me. From the thing I was. And he didn't know. Of course he didn't. He couldn't smell it. Did you eat? He asked, concern hardening his voice now. I'm okay, I lied. Probably just low blood sugar. I didn't sleep. He helped me sit up, towel around me like armor. My heart thudded so hard I was sure he could hear it. And the way his hand stayed at my nape, firm, grounding, it was too much. I met his eyes. They were closer than I'd ever seen them. Gray-blue. Focused. Serious. No judgment, no questions. Just presence. I wanted to kiss him. Which was stupid. Reckless. Classic Omega bullshit. I pulled away. I'm good, I said again, shakier than before. Sorry. I'll be more careful. He didn't say anything right away. Just nodded once, jaw tight. Then, Softly. You scared me. That made my throat close up more than the heat ever could. Didn't mean to, I whispered. Later, I sat on the couch with a mug of tea he'd made. Ginger and lemon, no honey. The kind of tea that says I care, but I also have trauma. He sat at the far end, pretending to scroll through something on his phone. But I could feel his eyes drift toward me every few minutes. Not with suspicion. Just wondering. I sipped the tea. It tasted like quiet. You don't have to do that, I said. Do what? Pretend this didn't happen? He glanced over. You don't want me to? I shrugged. I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe I want to forget I scared the crap out of my grumpy landlord and almost face-planted into the drain. A beat. Then, softly, you're not just a tenant, Toby. My head snapped up. I'm not? He looked away, clearing his throat like he regretted speaking at all. Don't get excited. I just meant, living here isn't a lease agreement. You don't have to suffer in silence. Oh. Okay. Got it. Pause. So I can scream dramatically next time? A smirk. Barely there, but real. Try me. And there it was again. The thing I didn't want to want. The warmth in his voice. The steadiness in his hands. The way his presence felt like something solid to lean on, even when I was spiraling. He didn't know what I was. But he was already becoming what I needed. Which scared me more than anything. Jake wasn't the kind of guy who made plans in advance. Which is why I was caught completely off guard when he knocked on my bedroom door at 11:47 a.m. on a Sunday and muttered, "You want to get brunch?" I blinked at him through a mouthful of toothpaste. Did you just say brunch? As in, willingly leave the house and consume overpriced eggs in public? He didn't smile. But he didn't deny it either. I promised Ace, he said. And he said I had to bring someone interesting or hot. You're both, apparently. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. It wasn't a compliment. Too late, I chirped, already grabbing my hoodie. I'm flattered. The place Ace picked was a downtown cafe called Sunny Side Up, which felt ironic, considering the man himself was lounging at a corner table in head-to-toe black and sunglasses indoors. Jake, Ace sang as we approached. And he brought arm candy. Be still, my tragically underused heart. Jake groaned. Don't start. I've already started, sweetheart. It's too late. I slid into the seat across from Ace, who offered me his hand like royalty. I shook it before I could think twice. His nails were painted dark green, and he smelled faintly of bergamot and ambition. Ace, he purred. He, him. Beta. Scourge of HR. You are? Toby, I said, a little breathless from the attention. Roommate. Freelance disaster. Ace beamed. Oh, I like you. The waitress came and we ordered. Jake grunted something about black coffee and a protein scramble. I went with the most expensive omelet on the menu, because if I was going to emotionally unravel in public, I deserved good cheese. Conversation started light. Work horror stories, Ace's 3 cats who had more Instagram followers than me, and the time he got banned from a corporate retreat for hotboxing a golf cart. But then he turned those 2 sharp eyes on me. So, Toby, he said, swirling his mimosa like a potion. What brings a lone beta to live with Mr. Sunshine over there? I paused. Jake's eyebrow twitched. Needed a place, I said. His ad said no drama. I figured that was a challenge. Ace smirked. Oh, it was. But you're interesting. Uh-oh, I muttered. See, you don't smell like anything. At first I thought you were on blockers, beta ones maybe. But that doesn't explain the way you fidget every time Jake gets up to refill his coffee. Jake looked between us, clearly missing half the subtext. His nose might have been shot, but Ace's was working overtime. Told you he's weird, Jake said. No, Ace replied. He's something else entirely, I laughed. Because what else could I do? Careful, Ace, I said. Your beta senses are showing. You're either the most tightly wound beta I've ever met. He leaned in, eyes twinkling. Or the most closeted omega I've seen outside of a soap opera. My smile froze. Ace tilted his head. Honey. Run. Jake dropped his fork. What? Nothing. I jumped in too fast. He's kidding. Right, Ace? Totally a joke. Ace leaned back, sipping his drink. If you say so. But he wasn't joking. And I was unraveling. After brunch, we drove home in silence. Jake seemed content, or at least used to the quiet. I was trying not to hyperventilate. Ace had seen me. Really seen me. No scent, no slip, no reveal. But he still knew. And if he could figure it out, how long until Jake did? Or worse. What if Jake never did? What if I stayed this ghost version of myself, hovering in the space between being and hiding? An invisible omega with too many walls and too few pills. I made it through the rest of the afternoon pretending I was fine. Did laundry. Cleaned the kitchen. Avoided mirrors. By dinner, Jake was in the living room, watching something vaguely violent and cooking free. I hovered in the doorway, arms crossed. "Hey," I said. "Thanks for brunch," he grunted, "and for not leaving me there when Ace started diagnosing my entire existence." Jake didn't look up. He gets weird with new people. Thinks he's psychic. "Yeah," I said softly. "Weird." A beat. Then Jake turned the volume down and looked over. His expression was unreadable, but not cold. "He likes you," he said. I blinked. "What?" "Ace. He usually hates my roommates." "Oh." My mouth went dry. "Cool. Good to know I passed the vibe check." Jake's lips twitched. "Just barely. He's wrong, by the way," I said suddenly, before I could stop myself. "About what?" I hesitated. Everything inside me screamed, "Don't say it." But my mouth moved anyway. "I'm not hiding anything." It wasn't exactly true, but it was close enough to survive. Jake studied me. His eyes were sharp, calculating, but still not cruel. "You're a good guy, Toby," he said quietly. I don't care what Ace says. That sentence hurt more than it should have, because I wanted it to be true. But I knew better. I wasn't just an omega. I was a rejected omega, a discarded one. One who still dreamed about being dragged back by the neck to the pack that called me worthless. I wasn't just hiding. I was pretending I was worth staying for. And falling, stupidly, slowly, for an alpha who didn't even know he could break me. The last pill sat in my palm like a dare. I stared at it for maybe 10 minutes before I finally closed my fingers around it and flushed it down the sink. No more. I wasn't going to live like this. Numb, hidden, half alive. I told myself I could handle it. That it wouldn't be bad. That I wasn't in a full cycle, just close, manageable. Lie, lie, lie. By nightfall, the lie was sweating through my skin. I'd locked my bedroom door without thinking. The room was a furnace. Every inch of fabric against me felt like too much. I peeled off my hoodie, then my shirt, then just sat on the floor in nothing but boxers, hugging my knees, shaking. My body was humming, aching. My brain kept screaming don't, while everything else in me whispered please. I bit my knuckles to keep quiet. My whole frame trembled. There was nothing left between me and it now. No chemical wall, no numbing haze. I was in heat, and I was alone. I crawled toward the wall, forehead pressed to the cool plaster. Breathed, counted, failed. A soft sound escaped me. Like a whimper. Too loud. Because suddenly, a knock, then a voice. "Toby?" I froze. Another knock, louder. "You okay?" I tried to say yes, but it came out a groan. The doorknob jiggled. Then a pause, and then the door opened. I hadn't locked it. Stupid. Stupid. Jake stepped inside, and stopped. I didn't look at him. Couldn't. "Toby?" I didn't answer. He crossed the room slowly, crouching down beside me. "You're shaking. What's happening? Are you sick?" "Yeah." I breathed. "Sick. Are you hurt?" "Yeah." Another lie. And not. Jake moved closer, his palm touching the side of my neck. I flinched, but didn't pull away. "You're burning up," he murmured. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I couldn't. Because if I did, everything would collapse. Because if I said the word, Omega, he'd look at me differently. He'd see me the way they all had before. "You don't have to be alone like this," he said. His voice was quieter now. Warmer. Not pitying. Present. "I'm fine," I whispered. "You're clearly not." His hand moved to my back, steady and strong. "Let me help you." I shook my head weakly. But I didn't pull away, because the warmth of his skin was everything I was craving and everything I wasn't allowed to want. He slid an arm around me and gently lifted me, guiding me up into his chest. I gasped at the contact. The scent of him, not pheromones. He didn't emit them anymore. But him. Clean cotton. Heat. Something dark and grounding. "I'll stop," he murmured. "Anytime. Just say the word." "I can't," I choked. "I can't think." "Then don't," he said. "Just feel." His lips brushed my temple. And I broke. Somewhere between the floor and the bed, I lost the ability to lie to myself. Jake didn't ask questions. He didn't press. He just held me. Carefully. Attentively. Like I was something fragile, but not breakable. I clung to him. My breath hitched against his collarbone. My hands trembled as they touched his skin. He kissed me like he was asking for permission with every breath. And I gave it. Again and again. "Yes," I whispered, when his lips met mine. "Yes." When his hand found my waist. "Yes." When his mouth traveled lower, mapping places I'd only let fear live in before. And every time I froze, every time I gasped or winced or shook, he stopped. "Okay?" he asked, forehead to mine. And I nodded. "Okay." We moved slow. Every second stretched. Every shift was deliberate. It wasn't about hunger. It was about recognition. I think I cried. Quietly. Not out of pain, but because for once, I was not being used. I wasn't a body. I was seen, even without being understood. After, we lay tangled together in the dim glow from the hallway light, neither of us speaking. Jake's hand was in my hair, fingers moving in soft circles. My cheek rested against his chest. His heartbeat was steady and mine was trying to match it. I swallowed. My throat was sore. My chest felt too open. And then, I whispered the words I'd been choking on since the beginning. "I kept waiting for you to stop." Jake didn't move. "I thought you would," I continued, voice trembling. "Like, you'd realize what was happening and back off, or push, or something. But you didn't." He didn't answer. Not right away. Then his hand cupped the back of my neck again, the same way he had in the bathroom. And he said, so quietly I almost missed it, "I was waiting for you to say yes." I closed my eyes. And for the first time in years, I felt safe in someone else's arms. Not claimed, not owned, just chosen. The next morning, the silence was louder than any argument. Jake was already up when I stepped into the kitchen. He stood at the counter, staring at his coffee like it had offended him. No music, no TV, just the low hum of the fridge and 2 mugs between us. "Morning," I said, voice hoarse. He grunted in response. I poured myself some coffee. Burned my tongue on the first sip. Deserved it. He didn't look at me. Just nodded toward the hallway. "You working today?" "Yeah," I said, clearing my throat. "Early shoot. Won't be back until late." Another nod. No eye contact. No casual smile. No teasing jab. The easy rhythm we'd built was gone. Replaced with a pause I didn't know how to fill. I wanted to ask what last night meant. I wanted to say thank you, or I'm sorry, or please don't regret it. The shoot was a disaster. Lighting wouldn't cooperate, my model was late, and I kept seeing Jake's hands in my periphery, on me, around me, steadying me. I wanted to feel strong, empowered, free, but instead, I just felt exposed. And worse, I liked it. By the time I got home, the sun was down and my brain was fried. I expected Jake to be in his usual spot on the couch, feet up, something grumpy playing on TV. Instead, the lights were off, and the apartment was quiet, too quiet. I stepped inside and froze. Someone was in the kitchen. Not Jake. Silja, I breathed. She turned, perfectly composed in a high-collared blazer and boots that cost more than my rent. Her silver hair was twisted up like a blade, and her smile was exactly the kind that came before a warning. Tobias, she said smoothly. You've gone, feral. I didn't tell you where I live. She tilted her head. You didn't need to. You left a trail, little brother. One we've been watching. My heart thudded. Get out. She laughed, soft and sharp. Is that how we talk to family now? You're not my family. Oh, come on, she said, taking a slow step closer. You think playing house with a broken alpha makes you free? My fists clenched. Don't talk about him. Her lip curled. Why not? He's not even whole. Can't smell you. Can't claim you properly. What is this? A pity arrangement? I didn't answer. Couldn't. I get it, she went on. You wanted to feel safe. Wanted someone who wouldn't push. But that's not how it works, Toby. You don't get to say how it works for me anymore. She leaned on the counter, casual. I'm not here to fight. Just to deliver a message. I crossed my arms. From who? You know who? I didn't want to hear it. Didn't want the name. Didn't want the memory. The pack wants you back. I laughed. Bitter. And sharp. Since when? They threw me out. Said I was defective. They changed their minds. No, I snapped. They just don't like that I walked away. Silja's expression didn't change. You were never meant to walk alone, Toby. Omegas don't function outside of structure. It's not safe. It's not natural. I'm not your project. No, she agreed. You're a loose thread. And you're starting to unravel. I felt it then, behind me. Movement. Presence. Jake stood in the hallway, half-shadowed. He'd heard everything. Of course he had. Silja followed my gaze and smiled faintly. Speak of the devil. Jake didn't say a word. Didn't move. But I could see it in the tension of his shoulders. The jaw clenched too tight. I should go, Silja said, straightening her jacket. They'll come soon, with or without you. I suggest you pack. She brushed past me like a cold wind, perfume and condescension trailing behind her. At the door she paused. You can't hide forever, baby brother. Eventually someone's going to catch your scent. Then she was gone, and I was left shaking. I turned to Jake slowly. I didn't know she'd come. He nodded. She doesn't speak for me. He nodded again. I didn't want you to find out like that. Now he looked at me. Long and quiet and unreadable. You're an Omega, he said. Not a question, just a fact. My breath caught. Yeah. Another silence. Were you ever going to tell me? I didn't think I could, I said, voice breaking. You said no pack stuff. No scent. No drama. You're not drama, Toby. Yes, I am, I whispered. You just haven't seen the worst parts yet. Jake stepped forward. I've seen enough to know you're not weak. He stopped a foot from me. And if they come for you? His voice darkened. They'll have to go through me. And just like that, the tension snapped. Not all of it. Not yet. But enough to breathe. Jake's truck always sounded angrier than it was. The engine rumbled low and steady as we pulled into Ace's building. He climbed in, balancing a giant tote bag on his lap and throwing his iced coffee into the cup holder, like it was a ritual sacrifice. Morning, he chirped. Too cheerful for a Tuesday. You look like hell. Jake didn't respond. Ace sipped loudly. So. Silence means you're spiraling, huh? Jake grunted. Just drive. They pulled out of the lot, tires crunching over gravel. The sun hadn't burned off the morning chill yet. It made everything sharper. Ace stretched his legs. So, you and Toby. Did something happen? Jake didn't answer right away. Ace didn't push, just waited, sipping. Then Jake said, He's an Omega. Ace blinked. You sure? Jake nodded. How'd you find out? His sister came by last night. Ace let out a soft, long whistle. Damn. She didn't say it directly. But she didn't have to. Ace rested his head against the window. You mad? Jake didn't respond. Ace turned to him. Voice gentler now. Look, I know you can't smell, but you're not stupid. You felt it. Jake's hands clenched the wheel. He lied. He protected himself. I would have helped. Ace gave him a look. Jake, you didn't even let your own brother stay with you after the hospital. You built your walls so high even you got locked out. You think he was gonna walk in and just trust you with everything? Jake's jaw twitched. You don't need to smell someone to know what they mean to you, Ace said softly. You don't have a nose, Jake. But your heart's still working. You just pretend it's not. Jake pulled over into the lot beside the building, hands shaking slightly as he threw the truck into park. Ace looked at him for a long second. Just ask yourself this, he said. If someone tried to take him from you right now, would you let them? Jake's silence was the answer. When they got to the apartment, something was wrong. Jake saw it before the door even opened. The hallway lights were dimmer than usual, and the tension in the air prickled across his skin like static. Then the voices. Low. Male. Controlled. And one voice he recognized. Toby. Jake pushed the door open, and froze. There were 3 men in the living room. 2 stood near the window, arms crossed, dressed like enforcers pretending to be businessmen. The third, lean, older, with silver at his temples, stood closer to Toby. Toby was standing stiffly, arms at his sides, like he was trying not to shake. Jake stepped forward immediately. What the hell is this? The older man turned. His eyes narrowed. And you are? I live here. Jake crossed the room, planting himself between Toby and the stranger. Toby, who are they? Toby's voice was brittle. They're from my old pack. We came to bring him home, the older man said smoothly. Where he belongs. He doesn't belong to anyone, Jake growled. He's an unclaimed Omega, one of the others snapped. He can't survive out here alone. Jake straightened. He's not alone. You're not his alpha. Neither are you. The tension spiked. One of the men stepped forward, eyes flashing gold. Jake moved instantly, blocking his path. Try me, he said coldly. The older man raised a hand. The other stopped. Jake, Toby said behind him, voice cracking. You don't have to do this. Jake turned halfway. They're not taking you. I'm not yours, Toby whispered. Jake looked at him fully now. Maybe not. But you're with me. And you stay until you say otherwise. No one else gets to decide. Toby's eyes welled up. The older man sighed. This is a mistake. Jake stepped forward. Get out. They did. Eventually. One last glance thrown Toby's way like a leash coiled and waiting. The door clicked shut. The silence was deafening. Toby stood frozen, back to the kitchen counter. Jake turned slowly. You lied to me. Toby flinched. I didn't mean to, he whispered. At first I just wanted to blend in. Then, it got too real. Jake's voice was low. You let me touch you, hold you, sleep with you, without telling me what you were. Toby's head dropped. I didn't think you'd want me, if you knew. Jake's voice broke, quiet and raw. You think I care what you are? You should. Jake closed the distance in 2 steps. You think I didn't feel it? He said, hand flat against his own chest, even without assent. You were fire and fear and warmth and you. And I wanted you anyway. Toby looked up, eyes wide. You thought I'd throw you out, Jake said. Like they did? Toby nodded. Barely. Jake's voice softened, strained. You thought I wouldn't fight for you. Toby didn't respond. But the tears said enough. Jake exhaled hard. I can't feel your scent, Toby. But I still know when you're hurting. I still know you're mine. Toby blinked. What? Jake stepped even closer. I didn't need to smell you to choose you. Toby let out a breathless laugh. You're such an idiot. Jake smirked. Yeah. But I'm your idiot. And this time, when Jake pulled him in, Toby didn't shake. He let himself be held. Not because he was claimed, but because, for once, he was safe. The new bottle of suppressants sat on the bathroom counter, unopened. I stared at it for a long time. Toothbrush dangling from my mouth, heart thudding in my ears. The safety net. The backup plan. The emergency brake. I unscrewed the lid and dumped every single pill into the trash. No more pretending. No more shrinking. No more putting a filter between me and the world just to make someone else comfortable. I brushed my teeth, rinsed, looked in the mirror. And for the first time in years, I didn't look away. Jake was sitting at the kitchen table when I came out, barefoot and still towel drying my hair. His eyes lifted from his mug of coffee. "You okay?" I nodded. I threw them out. He didn't ask what. He knew. "You sure?" "No," I said, honestly. "But I'm done hiding." Jake didn't smile, exactly. But something in his face shifted. A softness behind the rough edges. "I've been thinking," he said, voice low, "about us." I sat across from him. "Yeah? I want to do this right." I blinked. "Do what?" He looked me straight in the eyes. "I want to mark you. Officially." The words hung in the air between us, like a held breath. My heart stopped, then stuttered back. My throat went dry. "Jake, you don't have to say yes," he said quickly. "I know it's a big thing, but it's not about claiming you. It's about choosing you. So no one else gets to rewrite that." I swallowed. "What if I'm not ready?" "Then I wait," he said simply. I looked at him, really looked. This man who had never once pressured me, who never pushed past my walls, who stood in front of me like a shield, even when he didn't fully understand what he was protecting. And for the first time, the fear didn't win. "I am ready," I whispered. The mark wasn't rushed. Jake made it slow, intentional. He kissed my shoulder first, lips warm against skin. His fingers traced gentle circles across my hip, grounding me. "Okay?" he murmured. I nodded. "Yeah." Then, teeth. A soft pressure first, then the bite, just deep enough to trigger the bond, not to hurt. I exhaled, and the rush hit me all at once. A wave of warmth, safety, recognition. My body sang. My heart soared. And then he held me. Afterward, we lay tangled in the sheets. My head rested against his chest, his heartbeat steady under my ear. "I want you," I said softly. Jake's fingers moved in slow circles along my spine. "You've got me." "No," I said, lifting my head to meet his eyes. "I mean, I want you. Not because I'm in heat, not because I need, but because I love you." Jake's eyes widened. I felt myself flush. "You don't have to say it back." He sat up slightly, cupping my jaw with one hand. "Toby," he said, "I've loved you since you insulted my mug collection and burned your tongue on my coffee." I laughed, choked, and breathless and full. He kissed me again, slow and soft and everything I'd been afraid to want. And this time, I let myself have it. A week later, Ace threw us a party. Well, technically, it was a congrats on finally pulling your heads out of your collective asses party. But the balloons said love wins, and someone made a cake shaped like a wolf paw, so semantics. The apartment was full of people, Ace's friends, Jake's coworkers, even a few neighbors I'd barely met. Music played, wine flowed, and Ace had somehow installed disco lights in the ceiling. I was laughing at something when a familiar voice cut through the noise. "Well, this is festive." I turned and blinked. Sylvia stood in the doorway, holding a wrapped package in one hand and wearing a look of mild distaste. "You came," I said, stunned. "I came to supervise." Jake appeared at my side like instinct. "You okay?" I nodded. Sylvia approached, handed Jake the package. He looked at it warily. "Is this going to explode?" She smirked. "It's a chew toy. For when you feel the need to mark something again, maybe use that instead of my brother." Ace appeared beside me, cackling. "I love her." Jake opened the box. Inside was a bright red rubber bone with the words mine printed in gold letters. He held it up. "Should I be offended or flattered?" Sylvia shrugged. "Take it however helps you cope." I shook my head, smiling despite myself. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel broken. I felt whole. Later, after the party, after the guests and the music and the teasing died down, Jake and I lay on the floor of the living room, wrapped in one of Ace's oversized throw blankets. The window was cracked open, letting in the cool night breeze. One of Ace's cats, Pickle, the chonky one, curled at our feet, purring like a tractor. Jake reached over and brushed a strand of hair from my face. "You're quiet," he said. "I'm happy," he smiled. "That's new." I nudged him with my foot. "Hey, just saying." I rolled onto my side, facing him. Our knees touched. Our hands stayed tangled. "You know," I said softly, "you can't smell me." "Yeah. But I can smell you." Jake raised an eyebrow. I leaned closer, pressed my forehead to his. "You smell like safety." He didn't respond right away. Then he whispered, "You smell like home." And we stayed like that, wrapped in warmth and quiet, and the kind of love that doesn't ask for permission, just the kind that stays.